Morning, y'all. Today is the fourth piece of the Four Turning Minds, Karma and How It Works, both generally and in some detail, so you can get a feel. A lot of people don't understand this, and I watch this happen when I travel and teach. Not understanding how to create by an action the biggest karma you can when it's a virtuous action, and creating lesser ones by accident when you could get a really big bang for your buck. I watch people unaware how to keep non-virtuous actions from completing themselves. So in all of this, I think this teaching is pretty necessary. You can take notes if you want. It's an intellectual teaching. And there will be a discussion group carrying on, as there has been for these Four Turning Minds. We'll do it for about a month talking about karma, and then open it up to talking about all four. This stuff is really important. It needs to go in. It is the basis of the rest of your practice. It shows how cause and effect, including the cause of practicing and the effect of realizations, hang together, how they interact and interrelate with each other, growing or lessening, depending on how they're done. So to begin with, like all teachings, one focuses oneself on bodhicitta, that all beings may benefit from the following actions, and whether that action is listening to this or speaking this, these are interactive actions. They will create karma. So you want them to create the best karma possible for the sake of all beings. So you create that wish in the context of taking refuge, in the context of bodhicitta and refuge. Now, Guru Yoga is where bodhicitta and refuge come together. The ultimate Guru Yoga, where through the teacher, through the lineage, one takes refuge in all Buddhas of the three times, everywhere, every when, all planets, all worlds, all realms, all Buddhas which arise within the three times. How do Buddhas arise? But for simple, they arise out of sentient beings according to their karmic realizations. So when you take refuge in all Buddhas of the three times, that is opening your heart to the lamas, the lineage, all sentient beings of the three realms in their form of all Buddhas of the three times. Three times are past, present, and future. See how that works? So Guru Yoga holds both of it. It's not a personality cult. You really don't want my personality, trust me. It's prickly, has sharp points in it. Do not sit on it by accident. Go for bigger. Real mind, semni, real Dharma, chuni. Chuku kundu zongbo gompo dorji sempa garab dorji dang. Shere singe bardu shinlab de dam abzan tata tusum chi. Zog chen jupe lama la solo deb. Ergin Pema Junela Solowa De Dorji Chang Chitalo Narodang Marpa Mila Gompo Tatapat Napupadang Padendrupa Suk Kagulama Namla Solowa De O Chen Lama Namla Soloa Dev Ndro Chen Lama Namla Soloa Dev Kaginwari Lama Namla Soloa Dev Shakya Lama Namla Soloa Deb Nyandudang Yundrun Lama Namla Soloa Deb Palkondu Zhongdang Yerme Pa Gongarab Dorjijin Trag Pa Jetidang Nisume Pai Alamanam Chetente Chong. Karma is on its base level simple. What ye reap, what ye sow, so shall ye reap. Even Jesus had the essence of it. But how it works, how it manifests, how to get it to work in your favor and in the favor of all sentient beings is important. You see, once a karmic action is committed, the results are definite to come unless you do something about it. Just leaving it there, it grows. It echoes around inside of your pattern, mind stream pattern, Tsa Lung pattern, and multiplies, gets stronger unless you fix it. For example, if you kill some bugs because the ants in your kitchen are driving you crazy, and you finally give up on the vinegar and the cinnamon and hit them with a chemical, because there's just too damn many, right? You've all kind of sometimes reached that point. If you live in New York, it's the cockroaches. You've got about 2 to 3 weeks in there when it's going to be pretty easy to fix that, to purify it, to unravel that pattern, after which it gets a bit entrenched. It's small as bugs, but it gets bigger as if it were a human. This happens. However, virtuous karma, it happens to also. Even you do a small good thing like making eye contact and smiling at a crazy homeless person instead of acting scared and running away. And that lifts her mood just a little bit, because nobody's done that for a long time. You say, hey, how you doing? And since everybody's been pretending she's invisible all day and someone says, hey, how you doing? Yeah, it'll get better. If they say they're doing poorly. Something a little bit kindness, tiny little thing like that, a smile. at a shop clerk, a bus driver. Instead of being so focused on trying to get wherever you're getting, to do whatever you're doing, to acquire whatever you're trying to acquire, instead of that self-focusedness, just the karma of turning outward, little tiny karma, looking at a person and smiling. Again, in 2 to 3 weeks, that can grow as big as if you taught them Dharma accurately. So do the little things. And then in the evenings, because you know during the day you've done a lot of little things, spend a moment, with your evening sundowner, whether it's wine or tea, where you just take a little bit of time and watch the sunset, with your evening shower, after dinner with a digestive, take a little time. Remember the day a bit. Rejoice on those things you have managed to do which were kind, and those things you have done by accident which might have had a positive result, which might have resulted in gewa. What might you do by accident that results in gewa? Stopping at a street corner, obviously not quite intending to cross quite yet, while you do something, and a car that would have braked for you goes by and gets to its appointment on time, which makes a big difference in their life because it was a job interview from a company that cares about that. Hi-ho. You didn't do that on purpose. You stopped to tie your shoe because you noticed it was untied. Make sure the address was in your pocket of where you're going. But by accident, you did a really good thing for that guy, girl, whoever. You see, and you never knew. Rejoice in the accidental bits that you have done by accident throughout the day that have been of benefit to a living being. There were some. And then do a confession. This is how you get rid of the on purpose and accidental negativities you've created during the day in yourself and others. You take a moment to see which ones you know about. Yeah, I swatted that mosquito. It wouldn't shut up. I shouldn't have done that. I will try to avoid doing that next time. You see these 3 pieces? Knowing what it was, acknowledging that it probably wasn't as good an idea as it appeared at the time, and deciding not to do it again. Then you apply a remedy. Om Bendasado Hong, Bendasado Hong, Bendasado Hong, Bendasado Hong. Om Bendasado Hong, Bendasado Hong, Bendasado Hong. Feeling it wash through you. If you know the long mantra, Om Bendasado use that one. I can't say it slowly. Sorry, guys. I have to have it in front of me to give you the lung slowly. It just won't come slowly. So, oops. You probably know it already. If not, there's a teaching on it online on YouTube that will give you the lung for the mantra. Do that. And also include, for the ones I don't know about, I regret the lack of wisdom, the ignorance that caused me to accidentally do these things. I will in future try to avoid that oblivious ignorance that steps on bugs without seeing them. And then your mantra. This takes care of all the little stuff before it gets big. It is so much easier to get it out that night than it is after a couple of weeks when you sit down to do a major puja ceremony. Make it a habit. If you're an evening showerer, it's the perfect time because you feel the water, you feel it washing inside of you, you perceive it as the luminous, bright, milky liquid of the bliss of Vajrasattva Yab Yum. And you feel it wash through your channels and everything sent out from your eliminative orifices, which is your urethra, your anus, and the pores of your skin, in the form of creepy crawlies, which fall down into the center of the earth, where Yama stands with his mouth open and a great grin on his face, lapping them up, because they're his natural food. And then they're all gone. This is your basic. If you're only going to listen to 5 minutes of this explanation, take that 5 minutes. It will do you well. And when you finish with the mantra, with the remedy, finish with the statement, may all beings benefit by this action. That multiplies the effect of it times the number of living beings in the universe. Whee, that's a lot. So it's not hard to work with karma to repair it. Things don't happen to you that you don't have karma for. But look, you've lived infinite lives from beginningless time. You've had time to get up to all sorts of weird shit. And in most of them, you had no idea how to unravel them before they could gain strength and perpetuate themselves. I'm talking about Gewa and Digpa, not sin and virtue. When your child has an earache due to an infection in their ear and you give them antibiotics, of course that's a virtuous action, but you're killing critters. Don't try to decide good and bad about karma. Instead, look at the effect. Does it open your mind and others into a state of joy and relaxation? Does it tend toward joy and relaxation? Or does it close your mind and others into a state of stressful tightness? Look at that. Because otherwise it's really hard to figure out what's going to be Digpa and what's going to be Gewa, especially as some stuff is pretty mixed. We say that the three main Digpas, killing, stealing, taking that which is not given to you, For example, let's say you are working on a financial project with someone that you volunteered to participate in. And it's a lot more work than you expected. So you decide that you should be paid for it. But instead of negotiating with the other person involved in the project, this is so much more work than I expected. I think I should be paid for this. And I think I should receive a percentage of what amounts I'm working with. Instead of doing that, you simply take the money and pay yourself. It was not given. This can snowball alarmingly. I've watched it happen. Whereas if you go to the person and say, would you give me this much percentage because of the amount of work that was totally unexpected when I volunteered to this? I don't want to do this anymore, but I'll finish it up. But would you please give me this percent for it? And they say, oh, I think that's too high. Let's drop it 3%. And you come to an agreement that pleases both of you. And they say, I give you that. Now there's no digpa. Do you see the difference? Okay, that's an easy one. We're talking about stealing. The person who, unfortunately, I watched pay themselves what was a perfectly reasonable amount, but without asking. It snowballed on them. They're a mess. Oops. Pay attention to karma. That snowballed because they were working with a powerful object. And karma has three aspects. The intent was self-protective. They felt that for all this work, they deserved this. Okay, I would have agreed with that. I would have thought they deserved it too. The deed, paying themselves taking it rather than asking for it to be given. And the object, it had to happen to be someone in an intense relationship with the object. That made it strong and why it snowballed. Simply an explanation. I'll give you another example where maybe stealing is not digpa. Taking what is not given is the way it's stated. We're going on that phrase very strongly because that really is important. Okay, you see the 3-year-old with the cigarette lighter. Where it has found it, you don't know. It's not your lighter. But they're managing to get it to make flame. Do you take it from them? That 3-year-old is not, in that moment, going to give you that lighter. They're going to scream and yell, no, mine. Do you take it anyway? They're going to burn down the house. They're 3. Or themselves. Let's hope they're not wearing polyester. That stuff melts into you if you light it on fire. Is taking what is not given there digpa? Yes. But it is also gewa. What's your motivation? Your motivation is the safety of the child. It's aimed outward, not what you need, but what they need. You don't care if you have that lighter or not, but you need that child to be safe. Gewic motivation. Gewa. Object. Lighter. Not that powerful. Small thing. deed, taking, digpa, which was not given. The motivation of doing this in an outward turned rather than an inward turned way causes it to be gewa. There's two guys that ended up in a Pure Land, both relating to the same tsatsa. Do you know what a tsatsa is? It's a chorten made of mud, often made from mud mixed with the ashes of the dead so that they take an auspicious shape. A chorten is a symbol of the mind of all Buddhas. Nyando. In the bedroom is a chorten with some of Joy's ashes in it. Would you bring it? I want to show them what a chorten is, because this story is all about a chorten that was beside a path. So what happened was it rained. It began to rain really hard, just as a guy, or it was starting to rain, and you could tell from the sky that it was going to rain really, really hard soon. Just as a guy was walking past, let's see, let's get it in focus. A chorten beside the path. Not very big. Little chorten made of mud, molded, but a symbol of the mind of all Buddhas of the three times. And seeing that because it's mud, it would be harmed by the rain, it would be melted. They aren't fired, traditionally. He looked around for something to shelter it, and he found a couple of old sandals and some rocks. So he built little rock walls around it on two sides and roofed it with the soles of the sandals to keep the rain off it. And then he went on his way. He thought to himself, oh, this chorten will be destroyed by the rain. I must protect it. As a result of that karma, a chorten is a very powerful object. Very, very powerful. Next time you do something looking for donations for a GoFundMe or something, at least put a picture of a chorten next to your PayPal or whatever you're using button. Really, it matters. Make it an object so that those who choose to give something get more good karma for their giving. And then if they've got any sense, they'll wish all sentient beings benefit from this donation they're giving you. Yes, Veronica, I'm talking to you. And at least there'll be some benefit besides stressing you out. So anyway, this guy was born in a Pure Land as a result of this action. He encountered excellent Lama when he got where he was going and received some teachings which he practiced. And a result of practicing that, you see, watch it snowball, he made it into a really cool Pure Land at the end. After the rain ended and the sun came out, another man came along the path, and he saw the chorten with shoes on top of it. Understand, in Asia, shoes are bad, feet are bad. You never step on somebody's shadow. You never step over somebody's seat cushion or their legs if they're seated. Because to step over, to put shoes over, it was a sandal that Tilopa slapped Naropa with beside the Ganges. The shock was he hit him with a shoe, not he hit him. You see that? Shoes are a big deal out there. So he sees shoes, sandals, over the chorten. He says, this is terrible. The chorten has sandals over it. I will take them off and free the chorten. from this insult. And so he did. And then he went on his way. He also, as it happened, through one thing and another, ended up practicing well enough that he got into the same Pure Land. One of the ones that you have to hit the first bhumi to get to. Now you see how that works? One short and one pair of shoes. Two guys, two different times, two different circumstances, both created enough gewa to snowball into something big. So your basic things to avoid, unless you really are doing it with bodhicitta, and be fussy about that, are killing, taking what is not given, and sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct is having sex with a person who does not want to have sex with you. That's pretty simple. Or a person who is governed by vows not to have sex with you, even if they are ignoring them. Don't you fall in there. It happens in Asia that some monks say they are not monks to women in the hope of losing their virginity. Usually these are the young'uns. Well, sometimes it works. And every woman I've ever met who fell for that has lost her Dharma, her practice, has had her life go askew. And the few that have married them and formed a formal relationship where the monks have become Nagpas and properly renounced their vows have still had 7 years bad luck. I mean, it really, I've watched them. They end up in jail. They end up working terrible jobs. They end up in poverty. All sorts of stuff happens to the couple, both of them, even if she didn't know. So be very suspicious of young men with short hair in and around Dharamsala, regardless of what they're wearing. If they've got long hair, you're safe, as far as that goes. But you don't know if they are in a monogamous relationship with somebody else or not. If their relationship is non-monogamous, and that's not uncommon among people, you're not breaking a vow. Now the question is, do they want you the way you want them? Do you see? So seducing someone by frightening them, by offering them bribes, unless they're a professional and are in business to have that happen, would be sexual misconduct. I am going to stop for a minute and see if anyone's thrown up any questions on sexual misconduct, because it's a bugaboo, or on taking what is not offered, or on killing. Because all of these, the main Digpa things, are really where people tend to freak out. If they're like me, they can see the exceptions.
Oh, yeah, there's some questions.
Throw me a few.
Okay. What happens to practitioners who commit Digpa on purpose because they know they can, quote, undo, end of quote, the consequences with some appropriate practice?
Doesn't work that well. You can undo the consequences with some appropriate practice, but unless you undo the consequences of deciding that, which is itself a separate Digpa, And part of undoing something is to recognize that it was digpa and to decide not to do it again. Unless you unravel that, it's not going to work. And you can only do that once, because if you break your decision not to do it again, that's going to create another negative karma. And you're not really going to get much effect if you keep breaking that decision. For example, if you decide to stop drinking, as some people do, and that lasts all morning, but not all evening. And then you decide the next day, I'm really going to stop drinking now. Tomorrow's the day. And it lasts again all morning, but not all afternoon. And you do that enough times, the idea that I'm going to stop drinking just doesn't have any weight anymore. It doesn't work. Now you're going to have to find something else, like joining a group or doing a vow in front of a bigwig or taking antabuse or something. Do you see? So you're not going to be able to keep up with that long term. Yeah, try it a couple of times, but then it stops working. Next question.
Any comments on why being born a woman means a low rebirth, especially in this era?
It doesn't in this era, but unless it's Afghanistan. If you get born female in Afghanistan, that is the result of some pretty bad karma. Wouldn't you say? If you get born if you get born gay among the born again evangelical Christians, they're going to really twist you up about it. That's also a bad karma. Not being born gay there. Oh, if you were born Afro-American back in the time of slavery, that's a really bad karma. You got born into what was so seriously looked down on by that culture at that time. Yeah, nowadays it still could be a negative karma if the police are going to shoot you. I mean, that is a problem to be an Afro-American male, so it is a result of some karmas. Perhaps not as bad as it once was. Women are still making, what is it, 80 cents on the dollar to men? So it's still slightly a problem. Problems come out of digpa. They're the results of digpa, since they stress you. So if you would like to, break the glass ceiling, become a firefighter, a test pilot, join the military and be in combat, whatever crazy stuff you would like to do, if being female is blocking you from it, because in your culture, women can't do that, yeah, that's lower karma. It's not about being a woman. It's about the circumstances you are born into. If a culture looked down on redheads and thought they were all witches and burned them at a stake, to be born a redhead would be bad karma in that time and place. Contextual. Do you understand? Next question.
Continuing on the topic of sexual misconduct, there's a follow-on question about, is there digpa generated from kinkiness or sexual perversions?
Not if it's truly among consensual adults. They're just giving each other pleasure. How is it digpa to give someone pleasure, regardless of how oddly they may construe things that give them pleasure? So in and of itself, kink is not necessarily. There are some karmic points about orifices. If you tend to sexually use only one orifice, each sexual energy is a very strong energy. Each orifice has a certain pattern of birth. For instance, asshole patterns towards hell realm, mouth patterns towards hungry ghost, and vagina patterns towards animal. So since each of these have a slight pattern if overused, I would think variety would be your best bet. With kink, just be sure that you are acting with a certain amount of bodhicitta, that you are really trying to give as much pleasure as you receive. You can play a game where that's not in it, in role play, but it's in there, just not in the role play game. Do you see what I'm pointing at? Sex done with love and friendliness doesn't have to be in love. Warm friendliness between partners, when neither partner is breaking a vow to do so, and however many partners are involved in that cluster. That would not, to my mind, create digpa. Now, in Tibet, we just don't talk about this kink. How one has sex. We didn't even talk about missionary position, heterosexual, how it's done. It's assumed people will figure it out when they get old enough. Nobody tells you. Which can cause some very amusing situations that I won't go into here. Next question.
My ex had a celibacy vow about which I didn't know, but after that, it brought a lot of negative karma for me. Yep. How can I clean my karma?
Why, the simple method that I told you of Vajrasattva. Recognizing what the problem is. Yeah, I had sex with someone that was breaking their vows. I didn't know about the vow, but nonetheless, the action happened. I am going to be awfully careful in future to try not to have that same accident again. I may think up a new kind of accident to have, but let's avoid that one being a replay. Decision. Remedy. Om Menzasado Hung, Menzasado Hung, Menzasado Hung. Simply that way. Now, if this has been entrenched for a while and rattling around, and you see, the way it grows is when a digpa occurs, it makes you more likely to create more digpas because you're already stressed by the digpa having occurred. So it goes on from there. And so you do more and more, and they grow. So this has been rattling around for a while and probably making you do more things as a result of that karma. So it may take more than a session. I'd do the ceremony and maybe even make a weekend retreat on it, depending on how long that's been rattling around and how big it's grown. Make sense? Next question.
So now the questions are moving on from, I guess, mayhem to murder.
Okay.
Talking about killing. Does eating meat create so-called bad karma?
It certainly does. However, some people's physiological system requires that they do so. In order to remain alive and practice the Dharma, Some people must eat meat or they get really sick. Other people just like the taste. You can mitigate that karma by very strongly remembering, use the tool of mindfulness to remember that whenever you eat meat, first to pray for that being. There's a magic set of syllables. I've given the lung before, but I'll do it again. You can find this written out up on the website someplace.
Is this the prayer for meat?
Prayer for meat.
Okay.
Chomden de Dejin check papads in lacha sallow. Chomden de Dejin check papads on lacha sallow. Chomden de Dejin check pa nampa ropa nampa chempa lacha sallow. Oma berahung katsa ramam soha. 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 Oma berahung katsaramam soha. Oma berahung katsaramam soha. And blow on it. This causes the being to immediately take rebirth in the human realm with one precious human rebirth, which means not female in Afghanistan. What they do with that, they will have the opportunity to meet the Dharma. They will be healthy enough, sane enough, etc., to practice if they choose. But free will, you know, or karma, whether they utilize it or not. But at least you're giving them the chance. It's the best I know of to do for a being that I will eat. In fact, you don't have to eat them to do that. If your pet has died, if your cat brings you a dead trophy, in all of these circumstances, you're not intending to eat that corpse, but you can still do this and blow on it to good effect. Worth knowing. Next question.
I had it in front of me. Hang on. Does karma have a sense of humor? I have been a prodigious thief since I could walk. Now I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis, especially in my hands and feet. To my mind, this is actually hilarious.
No, it's your sense of humor. Karma is not alive. Not a god. Does the law of gravity have a sense of humor? One might find one there. But it would take a remarkable person to see the sense of humor when their parachute fails to open in the law of gravity. Karma, like the law of gravity, is just physics across time and space. I am fairly certain that if a good mathematician were to really study up on it, they could get it into an equation, as they have the law of gravity. Of course, that only works on this planet. You need a much more complex equation when you're trying to talk about orbits and distance and all of that. In the same way, that's how karma works on Homo sapiens and other ecologies. You're aware you're an ecology, right? You and your biome. You're not an individual. Remember the koan. If a poor man with an overgrowth of yeast in his gut has sugar cravings as a result of it, the yeast are wanting sugar, and so he steals a donut, who gets the karma, the man or the yeast? They don't die at the same time. They don't necessarily reincarnate together next time. So look at karma from this perspective also. Don't squish it down into good and bad. It is a pattern, a webwork of interconnectivity across time, of deeds and sensations. Changing texts for a moment. Another one says it better. Is it this one? Oh, come here with the good quotes. Oh, you're not it. I've got several texts on karma that I'm jumping about between. And I'm looking for the quotes. Here we go. This is Alexander Brazian, and it's a nice quote. Karma refers to the mental urges that bring us to act, speak and think in compulsive ways. This is your pattern. You behave according to your pattern. Are you afraid of scorpions? And you see one, without even thinking, you smash it. Oops, you killed. And yet your pattern is based on fearing poison, or do you fear it for others? Did you kill to save yourself or to save others who come here? You need to look at that. Remember karma, motivation, action, object. If you're going to make an offering to someone, to a teacher, make it to their face, not into a bowl somewhere in the back. It's more powerful object. Any teacher, even the smallest lama who's teaching you your letters, is more powerful than a friggin' bowl. So you get more bang for your buck. Trying to get you to just see this pattern of how it happens. There's also patterns of how the result occurs. When we act on these urges, we reinforce our old habits. That's how karma grows. Remember, I said it'll snowball on you? It gets bigger over time if you don't fix it, because it reinforces our old habits and we act accordingly again. And that's what makes it bigger. It's the pattern. As a result, we experience our moods going up and down uncontrollably. We also experience sensations of the 6 sense organs, according to the karma manifesting. Karmic results are sure but not fixed, not predetermined. Yes, they will occur. How they occur is flexing, because karma combines with other karmas. Look, you have the karma to be a Homo sapien at this moment. I mean, at least most of you do. If any of you are ET, give me a ride. I want to go out there. I'm assuming most of you are Homo sapiens, not ETs in disguise. That was a joke. Okay, Homo sapiens can only see certain colors with the eye organ. This is the group karma of Homo sapiens. Since the light reflected by certain kinds of demons is in the ultraviolet range, we are unable to see them. Whereas those creatures who see further into the ultraviolet can see those beings. So even if you have the karma to see a demon, you can't while you're a Homo sapien. You'd have to be something else. I can't remember offhand what sees farther into the ultraviolet. Can you, Nyando? Cats is slightly, one would think, but I'm not sure.
Maybe something closer to the insect realm.
That could be. I'm not remembering offhand.
Yeah.
You also can't see infrared without special goggles. You can't see, what is that? The different kinds of radiation that exist. If they're too long or too short, specific ones for Homo sapien eyeballs. Group karma. And then being born with citizenship of Holland. Group karma, it's going to affect you. How you're raised, how your culture imposes on you. Finland. How important it is to get along and not make waves. Holland, your front window must be decorated immaculately. And do not offend the neighbors. France, it's all about the feelings. Italy's there too, Mediterranean. British are very complicated because there's so damn many cultures in that little island. I mean, the Scottish and the English are not the same people. But these are group karmas. To be on this planet, to be part of Earth, group karma. So your experience is going to be, well, you all know how you experience things, what an experience is, right? I'll rephrase it. You've heard it 1,000 times, but it's important. Your 6 senses have a sensation. It gets named. Then you tell yourself a story about it. Then you have a feeling about the story you told yourself about it. That's a perception. When you get a bunch of perceptions in a row through time together, you get an experience. Experiences are the results of causes. Experiences have beginnings and ends. They change. Meditative experiences, nyams, are a word that arise for a particular category of experience, the cause of which was meditation. They have certain specific flavors, and you can recognize them. So you see, you had a cause, you sat down to practice, you meditated, you followed the instructions, and you had a result, an experience, which is changeable, was caused, and will eventually end. So the more gewa causes you create, the more open-minded, open-hearted awareness you will experience, the more happiness. the more delight. And the more digpa causes you create, the more stress, anxiety, fear and anger, jealousy and sensations of lack. I just can't get ahead. Loneliness, nobody loves me, nobody will ever love me. Lust, mine, mine, like a seagull. Or pigeons, which will pursue even your shoe in a certain mood. Have you ever had a pigeon try to do it with your shoe? Yeah, they do. The point I'm making here is karma. Can you see it? Next question.
There's a number of questions related to intention. For example, killing insects without being aware of it, like the ones that smack into your windshield while driving or while you're walking around. And the question there, let me track down the best example, is what to do for digpa I guess you suspect you've committed but don't really know.
I already answered that.
Okay.
Give me another one.
All right. The other questions have to do, well, some of the other questions have to do with helping to improve somebody else's karma. Is that possible to do through practice? Say, for the example they gave there was that of a cat, which, as an obligate carnivore, lives through killing other animals. And say, is there a practice you could do to improve the cat's karma?
Well, let me give you an example. Babies. The baby is colicky. The baby won't stop crying, which is causing serious digpa, as in it is affecting mama really badly. And you, granny, walk over, pick up the baby, tell mama, go take a shower. Go take some time to yourself. I've got this. And then you start doing manis. Now, manis have an interesting effect if done right. You feel that? I don't know if that went through the internet system. That will eventually, in a little while, might take a little while, but it'll work, soothe out that baby so it stops crying. So now the baby will not be stressing mama for a bit, which is stopping the digpa that the baby was creating by stressing mama. All babies stress mama at some point. Yes, it's digpa, but life is difficult for babies. And they're too young to understand, just like your cat that kills birds. If the cat is well fed and perhaps kept indoors, you might change its karma. But you really, as far as I have seen, cannot change another person's karma if they are unable to listen to instructions how to do it themselves. A lot of human beings are unable to listen to these instructions and just keep crying about their karma. How broke I am, how poor I am. Oh, I need this and that. and paying absolutely no attention to any of the instructions on how to unravel that pattern they are caught in. And one practices patience because sentient beings will proceed according to their karma, even if you care about them. Next question.
Can one enormous act of gewa, say giving a child up for adoption from a place of love, create the conditions for a generally auspicious life?
For you, possibly. For the child, they were the object of the action, not the perpetrator of the action. They will experience their own karma. Now, here I'm telling you karma is individual, but there are no individuals, and mind streams can join each other and separate, but not when they are deeply clutching self. You have to be a decent practitioner to reincarnate in 3 places. I mean, Karmapa pulled it off. And there's a few other tulkus around that have pulled that off. Conversely, for a teacher and their student to reincarnate in the same individual, no, I did not do that with Rinpoche. But I think Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa may have pulled that off. Just looking at them and listening to the changes. So it is doable. But for most people, it's pretty individual experience. Within the thing of group karma, family karma, and certain groups, such as Armenians, have a pretty strong karma. People have been trying to kill off the Armenians for a long time. Jews have a pretty strong karma too. As a group karma, not everyone is deeply within that group. Some people are quite peripheral, but it is a group karma. So some groups, such as Mahayana practitioners, create a group karma together on purpose. And some groups, I'm not going to name names, experience the results of a group karma that was created thousands of years ago. And it interacts. Motivation is important. Why? And you can't fool yourself on it. You can't pretend you're doing it for others when you're really doing it for you. No, I'm eating this meat because it tastes really good. It's bacon. Bacon is not. Nobody eats bacon for their health. Yeah, last night I had a dandelion green radish and bacon salad with balsamic. It was good. So, yeah, oops, that was a digpa. I ate an animal. And I ate an animal that I didn't need to eat. That's why Vajrasattva happens at bedtime. As far as I know, all experienced practitioners will practice Vajrasattva most evenings. Oh, sometimes you're on a plane for 36 hours and you have no idea when evening is, and it's more random, but Yes, there can be generational karma, family karma. Okay, so let's move on to, well, no, any more questions on what is Digpa, what is Gewa, how it works, lying, killing, stealing?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions related to the idea of if you find yourself in poor circumstances that you think are related to karma, how do you work your way out of that? Is it worth finding out what the cause is, if it's your own or group or generational or cultural or what have you? In other words, once you see yourself in poor circumstances and think it's related to karma, what's the next step?
Not so much what was the first cause. That's not what you need to know. What you need to know is what is the repeating pattern that's keeping you in it. For example, poverty. What got you into poverty in the first place, who knows? Could be lifetimes ago. Could be in this lifetime. Whatever caused it. However, what is the pattern that's keeping you there? What glitch is making you repeat the non-working functions that keep you from relating viably to money? So work with that. For example, to create the antidote to poverty, which is Preta realm manifesting in this realm, I remember a young man, and he got over it, but he was so stricken by poverty that I gave him all my pocket change, which must have amounted to $5 or $6, and said, you go out and you give all this away. Find beggars, give it to beggars, give it away. This was when pocket change was worth something, like maybe 20, 30 years ago, when $5 or $6 was several meals. He couldn't do it. He went out, he walked the city all day, couldn't find a beggar. And when he did find a panhandler, he thought they would just use it on drugs and went past that one to look for a different one. And then he had a different set of thoughts. I laughed so hard when he came back with 3/4 of the pocket change. He'd bought himself something to eat or drink with some of it. And he had just made it stronger. It is for poverty to turn yourself outward to others, to look for what they want that you can give them, not what you can get for it or from it. Give shit away. Put a pretty flower basket out front as a gift to the passerbys to see beauty, or hang a pretty flag or something, but not for you to decorate so you'll be proud of how nice your house looks, for them to enjoy as they go by. Another friend I once gave Christmas lights to offer light, because in the dark season, offering of light is really powerful giving. They hung them up inside where they could enjoy them. I was trying to get them out of poverty. You can't fix another person. These are just examples. The guy with the pocket change. I think I just sent him out and I think at that point I sent him back out and said, Just go do it. Keep trying. And he finally managed to give away some of it. And then the rest of it. And then I gave him more because pocket change accumulates. And he managed to give that away more easily. And then he had some money. And I told him, no, you go give that money away, at least half of it. And he did. He was able to. He's actually doing quite well financially by now. Broke the pattern of not having enough by having more than enough and sharing it. Other questions?
Milarepa once said in a song that those who go through hardships because of the Dharma accumulate infinite blessings. How can suffering lead to good karma?
You're actually just using up some old bad karma. However, it's how you react to it. Suffering can be very, very powerful. If you react to that kind of powerful negative experience by not running away, that purifies an amazing amount. So he went through hardship, which he could easily have through Nam talk, through stories telling himself, blamed his teacher in a bad way. He was able to not do that. This itself, this ability, this practice of Guru Yoga unraveled the fact that he was a mass murderer. And if he could have kept going, if Marpa's wife, in her misplaced compassion without wisdom, hadn't interfered, he would have kept going. And Marpa would have brought him through in a word. But because of the way the karma of everybody in that group unraveled itself, including Marpa, his wife, and the other students, as it happened, he had to go and practice for many years in hermitages to actualize the teachings rather than have him come through with a single word. And because of it, had many opportunities to sing songs and demonstrate that method, which was of great value to all sentient beings. See all the interconnections here? As karma webs itself across time. When you look at karma in the fourth time, from the fifth, looking at the fourth time, what you see is a webwork of interconnectivity. Interpenetrating, interconnected causes and effects. And we only name it effect and one piece cause and another piece of an occurrence effect because we think it's moving through time linearly. It's that the two pieces match up and are connected in this webwork of, we call it cause and effect, but frankly, we're only doing a mental labeling to say which one is which. If it happens earlier in time, you call it cause. If it happens later in time, you call it effect. But things echo in both directions. Haven't you noticed that? The pre-Wong fight. Next question.
Okay. The question is, hang on. There it is. I dreamt I tried to purify my karma and suddenly had a horrible accident. Can attempting to purify our karma cause it to ripen suddenly, and is it sometimes better to let it be?
Not better to let it be. Whatever your accident was, it could have been worse. Could have killed you. Left you with brain damage. Within the dream, that's dreamtime stuff, and it works on a bit different principles. Karma created in dreamtime does not. No, I'm not going to get into dreamtime stuff here. Sorry. Next question.
Is there a way to know that entrenched karmic pattern has been purified, especially when we do Vajrasattva mantra retreats?
Say that again.
Is there a way to know that entrenched karmic patterns have been purified, especially when we do Vajrasattva mantra retreats?
I have always just assumed that they had. And that seems to have been effective because they have. I don't know how to answer that question. How can you tell? Well, it's obvious. It lightens them if it doesn't unravel them completely. You can feel it. That question has me too puzzled as to how to express the fact that, well, you know. There's a lot of people who seem to experience this doubt situation. This is a result of your past karma, of being unable to really trust your own experience as your experience. Trust your nyam as your nyam. Need someone else to tell you that you've got it right, that you're doing it right, that it worked or didn't work. I don't see this much among the Tibetans, but I do see it often enough here. It must be some kind of cultural karmic thing to constantly be in a state of doubt. It has to do with being deeply infested by thought and deeply invested in what you're thinking, to the point that, of course, little thoughts about that come, thoughts about everything go by as a result of karma. Yeah, don't pay him, no, never mind, let him be. Need to talk about how karma manifests next. I have a feeling that I could talk about karma with you for another hour, and we don't have that. We may have to do this again sometime. The most recent karma manifests, karma manifests according to its strength and its recentness. Its strength is determined by motivation, action, and object, who you are acting on. Striking your lover and striking your teacher will have different results. In the way the relationship sits up. The most recent karma will manifest first in the form of creating a habit pattern. So if you've been swatting, you're going to keep swatting. And you're going to swat more. That's its first manifestation. Because it was killing, the probability when it manifests as another life of it being a hell realm depends on how much you've been swatting, how much you purified it. Mosquitoes are minor objects. You could swat people, you could swat a dog, you could swat your teacher. Or kill any of these things. And each one would make a heavier and heavier karma until you get to Milarepa, who out of revenge, negative emotion, negative motivation, killed action, object 37 people. That took a lot for Marpa to unravel so that the kids' potential could come through. A lot of individual attention. And he still didn't quite get it finished. Karma will certainly manifest if not purified. It will manifest in the now and in the later. Mostly what you find happening in the now is going to be habit patterns increasing. Most of what you're going to find in the later is going to be aspects of birth. When you're born with a personality, with some kind of neuroeccentricity or not. Be dyslexic, ADD, autistic, normie, if there is such a thing, nearsighted, farsighted, short, tall genetically, to short or tall parents, with liking for certain things and not liking for other things. It can be very confusing to people who are not accustomed to it to switch genders every life. You keep thinking you're the wrong one. So you switch for the next one. Then you think you're the wrong one. So you switch for the next one. However, there is advantages in that to find the midline. Sometimes the karma comes back on us as a reflection of the action. So you've been swatting the mosquitoes. A car swats you. Sometimes it comes back as an increasing habit. You've been swatting the mosquitoes, so stamping on the scorpion doesn't even feel like a big deal. Sometimes it comes back. Actually, it comes back as all of this. Do you see how it snowballs? Extends across lifetimes. My fondness for wine may have been developed that time I was the Roman soldier that was drunk all the time on wine. Or somewhere in France. He eventually drowned drunk in a mud puddle. Idiot. And yet, that's going to repeat here. I really do like wine. You are not an entity. You are a clump of karma, intersecting, creating, experiencing the results of. I have an itch. That is the result of a previous action. I am performing an action. You know what? That's going to result in more itches. Once you start scratching your head, you keep scratching your head. Do you see that karma happening? It's a minor karma. If you don't mind itches, it's not particularly digpa. It is sort of, because itches are stressful if they get to be too many. I think I'll stop that. I started that for you to see. And I'm going to sit here and scratch at you. Looking back, I happen to be fairly itchy in this life. Not sensitive skin, but just itch is a strong sensation for me. So I look back and see, and I actually find occurrences both early in this life and in others that have led to that manifesting. In past life, I really wasn't so fussy about cleanliness. Question from the Spanish: can an abortion, chosen abortion, be family karma? Not exactly. There may be a family cultural pattern of not giving the kids contraceptives as soon as they're old enough. I mean, literally, when a kid starts menstruating, they need contraceptives. But in some families or cultures, that is not done, which can create the cause. Withholding contraceptives from a child as they become older can create the cause for unintended pregnancy. And in some families and cultures, that an abortion is considered acceptable, as in others, it is not considered acceptable. So yes, in that way, the whole thing, but that family karma is doing more than that. It's probably giving you some weird sex hangups, because those cultures that don't provide contraceptives to young people at the earliest, look, even if she's not being sexual, rape is always a possibility. No kid is absolutely safe. If it's going to happen, best it not cause pregnancy. Get the kid something when she's ready. And as soon as the male one comes out, get it for the guys. Otherwise, because you can't trust all the women's mothers to have gotten them something, and you know those kids are going to experiment at some point. Not using contraception is a cause for unintended pregnancy. Your family's custom of not using contraceptives for the young folks with care and caution, such as always using two kinds because nothing's 100%, So you're either using abstinence plus or rhythm method plus or condoms plus Depo-Provera. I mean, be reasonable. Nothing's 100%, so you use 2. So that's cultural karma, group karma of your culture to not give kids contraceptives has affected your family, both your ancestors and yourself, in this way. Change it for your kids if you have any. Don't keep creating the karma for that. Abortions are, in most circumstances, digpa. However, there was a woman once who had had some serious health karma, who was taking some tetragenic medications when she was raped and found herself pregnant. Due to her health complications, she would not have been able to carry to term, but would probably have died in attempting it. Due to cultural complications, she would have been ostracized if found to be pregnant. And there was no chance of a viable birth. Tetragenic medications. We found this less than 6 weeks on. We found this really early. And yes, I took care of the abortion. Accepting any digpa from it on myself, because there will be, we just killed a fetus, even though it wasn't viable and would have killed the mother, so it was the right choice. There was more gewa in there than digpa. So you take upon yourself, as in Tonglen, the digpa, you inhale it and let it pop. That self-protective, self-cherishing bubble that we carry around with us when you must take on a digpa in order to create a gewa. And then you release. And yes, if you experience suffering from your own digpa, oh, now where'd that go? Here we go. As a result of your own digpa, does imagining that you are taking on the suffering other beings help? Incredibly. You're not taking on the responsibility. You're taking on the result to free them. This is Tonglen, but do it properly. Do Tonglen according to the instructions. Let it pop, that bubble of self-aggrandizing, self-focusedness, which you carry around with you at all times, like matter and antimatter coming together. Both the suffering and that bubble are destroyed completely with no residue. And all that's left is pure, clear light. Excellent method. Go right ahead and do that. Okay, you're going to have to get me some more because I don't see any more in here on InStream.
Oh, in terms of questions?
Yeah.
Well,
so these are the Spanish
answered
ones.
the one that I had in the queue on Facebook. So moving on to the next one, there's a couple of questions asking about the karmic effects of relationships within, say, a sangha or a group of Dharma practitioners. One of the questions is, what's the karmic effect of having sexual relationships with your Lama?
Well, are they married to someone else or do they have a vow not to? That would be digpa if they're a monk. But if you ask their wife nicely and their wife says she don't mind, then there's no problem. Why would that be a problem if they're your Lama or your best friend, if it's consensual among adults? Now, you could get yourself into trouble with that, not by having sex with your Lama, but by the stories you told yourself about it, such as you borrowed him from his wife. She said, yeah, go ahead. Because she trusted him so much that she was the perfect mate for him, and they'd been concerts for a long time. And if he wanted to dip his wick somewhere, that wasn't going to be a problem, and it looked like fun for him. I had this happen once. And I'm like, okay, cool. If it's okay with your wife, man, this is going to be fun. This wasn't Wangdo Rinpoche. This was another teacher of mine. And it was. Although she and I had a bit of laugh at a couple of things afterwards. Next time we met in a chung shop. No, Digpa. However, if I had then decided that he loved me better and told myself stories about how now I was going to replace her and created a jealous pattern, that would have made Digpa. So don't be doing it unless you think you can handle it cleanly. Okay? Next question.
You are my root teacher and I feel devotion to you. Is it appropriate to do guru yoga on you, and does this have to do with karma?
I think yes, who you feel is your root guru is karma. Yes, karmic connections. Is it appropriate? Yes, you can choose me. I'll hold still and not duck too hard. But do remember to find your proper distance. If you get too close, you'll see too many of my feet of clay, and it will turn you off and make a mess. You'll burn yourself. If you get too far and you don't contact me for years, you'll forget to practice. You'll get too cold. You figure out the depth, okay? Don't expect me to do it. I see myself as a door prop, holding the door open to all Buddhas of the fourth time. But you can see me however you want. You will anyway. You'll see me however you want. I'm just an old dog's tooth. Come on. Next question.
If, excuse me. If ordained Sangha members commit crimes, how would this affect the collective group karma of that lineage?
Negatively. It would make, first of all, those individuals more inclined to do it again. And it would create tensions within the Sangha if it got out. What heinous crimes? You killing your parents?
They don't say which ones, just...
Oh, creating schisms in the Sangha.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a bugger because everybody does it. And it's really hard to keep a Sangha from doing it. And you have to really yell at them if you catch them at it. But gently, or they'll just run away and do it somewhere else, which is not the answer either. So, yeah, that's a hard one to keep Sangha members from fighting. Rinpoche students, one of them punched the other out at the end of a teaching. Maybe it was deserved. Yeah, Rinpoche was really pissed off about that. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. I wasn't there. Next question.
How to deal with fear of karma? Due to mental conditions, I have dark impulses coming up uninvited and unwanted. If I follow them or even touch them, they lead to negative thoughts.
Well, the most effective way is to discover what your thoughts are made of, because black clouds and white clouds, neither one has any effect on the sky. White clouds don't benefit sky. Black clouds don't harm sky space. They just drift on through. No effect. So if you were able to learn how to see thoughts as they are, for what they really are, they wouldn't create negative karma, because you're not believing in them. They need that extra bit. So I suggest you practice. Meanwhile, use the tools that you have, such as Chenrezig, to further your bodhicitta, as well as Tonglen as a purification for the past, and Vajrasattva on a regular basis. I understand dark impulses. Remember, I'm the one who was a homicidal maniac when I was 17. I mean, really. I used to go out into Central Park at 3 a.m., concealed weapons all over me, hoping to legally kill a mugger. Dressed like a little secretary, except with good shoes that I could run in and kick in. So I do understand dark impulses. At this point, they're simply funny. Yeah, they happen. Yeah, I still get impulses to go and mow them all down with a machine gun. It's a thought. Who cares? Practice. Instead of trying to get rid of dark impulses, try to see what they're made of. All thoughts without exception. I don't care how kinky. Next question.
Can being in Rigpa purify karma?
Absolutely, if by being in Rigpa you mean the clear, open awareness, which is total and does not grasp or shove anything. It's the best method, if you can do it. But Shine is not Rigpa in this sense. You are Rigpa. It's not like you go in and out of Rigpa. You've always been Rigpa. Gah! Awareness, pure awareness. All the manifestation bits of karma arising in your six senses arise in your awareness to your awareness as your awareness, and dissolve in the same moment. They change impermanence. But your awareness, pristine, kadak, innately unfuck-upable, pure from the very beginning. The sky itself, infinite openness, without border, without center, without any characteristics whatsoever, vital and alive with the dance of sensation, the pattern of karma simply being the interactivity of all those phenomena. That totality. The answer is yes. Something less than that? A little. Next question.
Would the meat prayer also work for humans?
Yes, to get them human again, especially if they've gone and done something stupid like OD, which is likely to get them animal realm, or off themselves, not a matter of simply in hospice choosing the right time, but a matter of offing themselves due to emotional turmoil, which is likely to cause a lot of future problems. There's things you can end up that are not very pleasant to be. I guess we call them the occasional hells. They're not the hot hells or the cold hells. There are other weird things that are not nice. Yeah, you can do that. Most people, humans, who existed as a relatively kind, open-minded, open-hearted human being, without striving overmuch for wealth or power, living and loving in a human way, with intelligence and kindness, will get reborn human. However, those who make serious mistakes, such as being willing to sell anything for power or for money, arms dealers, they could use that help. Next question.
A couple of questions about what to do, say, if the thoughts are partly driven by chemical imbalances, say clinical depression or ADHD or other conditions. What practices would help with those over and above the usual medical
Okay, so
answers?
this goes with the usual medical answers, not instead of the usual medical answers. In some previous teaching on Tibetan magic, someone may know where that is, I have talked about the practice for depression, Isuyurang, self-rejoicing for the happiness of others. For ADD, a form of relaxing, that's a harder one. I have not been taught any practice for ADD, since it is not known as such as a diagnosis among the Tibetans. Running a mantra 24/7 underneath, especially Manjushri, Omarapatanadi, is considered to be helpful there for those who are what the Tibetans say easily distractible. And manis are always a good idea. Every single mole or spot on your body is a karmic result. Might be where you hit a mosquito. You got a lot of freckles. You've been doing it. Or some other such occurrence. But yes, they all do. One more question, and we're at 2 hours, and I haven't finished the original explanation because I really like the questions.
Well, the people had a lot of.
So we're just going to have to do this again
questions
in a few weeks and continue on with the explanation. I'll finish a couple of questions here, and then it's going to be time.
If problems arise due to karmic circumstances, is it sufficient to relax and pay karmic debts in a graceful manner?
Say that again.
If problems arise due to karmic circumstances, is it sufficient to relax and pay karmic debts in a graceful manner?
No, it's good, but it's not sufficient. You also want to do your basic acknowledge what the old issues were, or the repeating pattern is at least. Decide not to repeat that pattern, pick a new one. And Vajrasattva. One more, because that was too easy.
Oh, okay. Let me see what we have left here. Oops, it's changed a bit. There we go.
The paying back karmic debts in a graceful manner is a damn good start. So this other is not instead of that, it goes with that. Next.
How can you stop the karma of scratching, going back to that example, once it's become such a strong habit?
Benadryl.
Yes.
Spray. Moisturizer. What is the current secondary cause that is supporting that karma actualizing? Dry skin. Fix it. Stinky laundry detergent with scent in it that you are very mildly allergic to? Fix it. You see, for karma to come to fruition, which is the part I didn't get to, it has to have the secondary causes. I could have a very strong karma to die of prostate cancer, but I can't in this life. I don't have a prostate. You see? But if I had that secondary bit that allows that to fruit, I might. It'll have to get me next time. I'm one of the ones that tends to alternate. Anything else that seems really good and important? Otherwise, I'm going to call it for now.
Not that's on topic.
Okay, on topic only. We'll do Q&A for your off-topic stuff. Save it for there. Nyur duda che chi sala ngo pashu. May all illusory sentient beings be free of their illusory karma and attain the illusory attainment of Buddhahood. So be it complete for today. Tomorrow we have Songs of the Siddhas again, which is basically just inspirational poetry of Maha'ati Mahamudra, Dzogchen Chogchen. For those of you who have been listening to this teaching in a language other than English, please offer dana, make a gift to your translator, and create the cause for future teachings to be translated. It's very simple.
Yeah.
For those of you who wish to mix your karma together with that of a yogi or a yogini, so that your practices merge and synergize. As Milarepa said, the yogi in the cave, the farmer on the farm who brings his food up to the yogi, the two of them gain the realizations together, for interconnectedly they create the same. Take advantage of karma. Anyway, if you wish to take on one of the yogis, sponsor their food, their retreat, send me an email to that subject. Do not mix it with all your personal questions. Separate email. Personal questions, separate email. Okay? That just helps me sort things out properly. And was there anything else I needed to announce?
I think you covered it all, the translators, the teaching for tomorrow. There's a retreat in a week working with emotions, but that is now full.
That's now full. So
yes, if they're on the waiting list, maybe they'll get a spot, but it is full right now.
And there you have it. So, okay, we're done for today.